Yep, we're going there. I know there's not a huge market of people that think this is a good idea, but there's large enough of people that are advocating as to why it's a good idea to put a camera on an Apple Watch. And given this recent patent filing, it's getting them a little excited. So I'm here to just kill everyone's dreams today and tell you all to give up. Nothing exciting is coming out and you need to accept that. That's my job and I love it. Today we're talking about why the Apple Watch should not get a camera, it doesn't need one, and why it's not going to be getting one anytime soon, if not ever. Let's begin. So what recently happened basically is Apple passed a patent for an Apple Watch band that has a camera on it. Now, I feel like I have to repeat myself all the time with this, but it is worth repeating. Guys, patents do not guarantee products. In fact, most patents Apple passes don't end up actually in products that you can go out and buy. All it means is that the R&D department is messing around. They're trying new things, but they will literally try all kinds of things and most of the time find out, oh, actually, we don't want to go forward with this and won't implement it into a product that we're all going to be able to go out and purchase ourselves. They have patents for touchscreen Macs. They have patents for Touch ID underneath the display since long before the iPhone X even came out, but that never ended up coming out in an iPhone. Patents for health features built into AirPods, patents for Apple Watches, being able to have external batteries via smart bands. There's all kinds of things Apple has made patents for, but that does not guarantee the product's coming out. So please keep in mind, people, that doesn't promise anything, but let's even say they are considering it. They want to put a camera in an Apple Watch band. What does that mean they have to do? It's not as simple as just adding some electronics to your watch band. Now, you actually need a way for the watch band to transmit power and data through the Apple Watch side connectors, which right now I think is pretty safe and pretty simple. There's a very easy to understand little button. You press in on it and you slide the watch band off. Boom, you're done. Now, if they had to start integrating ports and smart connector type attachments there, where the watch band had to derive power and data from the Apple Watch, for one, that's going to drain your Apple Watch's battery a lot faster than it already does, and for two, that could heavily affect the water resistance, which Apple is so proud of with the Apple Watch line. The fact that you can take it underwater up to 50 meters deep. If suddenly you had electronics and ports on the outside that had to be easily accessed by watch bands, that would likely change because of how water pressure behaves at lower depths. So if Apple did sell this watch band, for one, it probably wouldn't be cheap, because if you're trying to embed a really high quality camera with power and data transmitting signals into the Apple Watch itself, that tech is very fragile and small. So we're talking easily like a $200 watch band, probably more, that would also have to ship with a disclaimer that says, by the way, if you use this watch band, your watch is no longer water resistant to the depth that it was advertised to, which could be a huge deal breaker for a ton of people out there. And also, let's talk about the idea of embedding the camera onto the Apple Watch body itself, okay? So let's just scrap the whole smart bands functionality idea. As cool as it is, and we did see that secret port on Apple Watches in the past, we know now that that is purely for maintenance reasons. It's not supposed to be accessed regularly, and it's also not supposed to be accessed by the user. It's really only accessed by Apple when they need to do hard reset type situations, which customers aren't capable of doing. We don't have the parts, we don't have the permission from the creator of the watch itself. That port also takes a lot of work. It's way more embedded into the Apple Watch than a simple slide to connect feature would be. Either they would have to make some type of very slim, very compact pins that would line up, which again would be affected by water resistance, but also the alternative would be implementing some type of inductive charging method where the Apple Watch could deprive power via Qi-based technology. But I think the tiny amount of watch band to Apple Watch attachment we're talking about here is way too small. It would be way too expensive and probably get way too hot for this to actually be a practical use case. Again, patent filings just really mean that the company's toying around with different ideas, never guarantees it's actually going to be in the final product. But if they were to put the camera on the Apple Watch body itself, that is literally like the worst angle you could take pictures or videos from. As I've said in the past, attaching a camera to your wrist is not a great angle of taking selfies or FaceTiming. I encourage all of you, if you disagree with me, to take your iPhone or whatever camera you have on you, activate the front-facing camera, and then put that camera right where your watch would be, and then tell me how flattering that angle looks. It's basically like not FaceTime, nostril time. You get to count everyone's nose hairs because this is not a flattering angle. Also, the Apple Watch is not built for prolonged use. Everything on the Apple Watch is built for at a glance. You need to check notifications really quickly. You need to see how your activity's doing very briefly. It's not really meant for you to just constantly be tapping on the screen and be using it for a long time, or use it for things like FaceTime calls, which are usually when you're not interested in texting someone and you want to have a longer term conversation. That's not going to be a flattering angle. Also, we know for a fact no matter what camera they would put on an Apple Watch band or an Apple Watch itself would be bad. It would not be good quality. There's no way you're going to be able to pack a high resolution camera onto something this small, not just because of the size that's available inside of the Apple Watch, but also because of the power it has access to. The CPU in the Apple Watch is fast for a wearable, but in comparison to the CPU power necessary for video and photo taking on your iPhone, we're talking bare bones minimum camera here. This would probably look like slightly worse than the front-facing camera of an iPod Touch. It would be like just barely viewable enough, and they would probably have to turn down the resolution and frame rate extra low because the CPU on the Series 4 and even the Series 5 is not going to be able to handle long-term video recording or picture taking of anything somewhat fancy. So say goodbye to your ideas of portrait photography or bokeh of any kind. We're talking like potato quality GIF maker. This is just going to take very brief snippets of GIFs. The other problem with people saying like, well, it would be great for if you want to have FaceTime on the watch, for example. I encourage any of you to try to have a prolonged phone call on your Apple Watch. You'll notice something. It drains the battery like crazy. In fact, if you're on LTE, like your Apple Watch is out and about, not connected to your iPhone, and you try to have a voice call over that, you'll notice your Apple Watch battery drains so fast that the phone call could kill your Apple Watch's battery in under an hour. And that's simply because of how much data that CPU is processing for such a tiny battery. That's why this display is always trying to turn itself off. It's trying to preserve the power usage as much as possible. And like I said, everything you do on watchOS is meant to be done very briefly at a glance, not long term. Just skip this song or change the music or send this text really quick, not like, hey, how are you? And just start talking for a long period of time. That's when you'll notice the battery draining quick, and adding a camera to that would mean it would probably drain even faster than it already does. So this would not be a feature people could use often. And for two, I think if you polled a ton of Apple Watch users out there and asked them, would you rather have a camera on your Apple Watch or would you rather have some more battery life on your Apple Watch? My guess, I don't have actual evidence of this, but my guess is 9 times out of 10, most people would rather just have a better battery life, because there's no way that a camera will be just a tiny little addition. They'll just sneak it in there at the last minute. No, when you're talking about a device this small, cameras take up a whole lot of space that could probably just be designated for other things, whether it's making the CPU have more room, giving more space to the battery life so that you could maybe have an always-on display or have it last several days without charging. There's plenty of better use cases they can use the Apple Watch for than just a low-quality camera that's not going to look good and give unflattering pictures. Even if you tried to take a selfie, like, it would be incredibly difficult to keep one hand as your viewing angle and then with the other hand take the photograph. It would be so incredibly complicated that, again, you'd be paying top dollar for this. It's not like if they added a camera, it would be cheap. It would probably make the Apple Watch more expensive to produce, and again, it would just be terrible video or photo quality. Talking like iPod Nano video camera here. And I know there's some people out there that are like, well, maybe they could use the camera to have Face ID on the Apple Watch, which, you're just completely missing the point, aren't you? We have biometrics on our iPads, our iPhones, and even our Macs now because we unlock them lots of times throughout the day. Your average iPad or iPhone gets unlocked probably close to over 100 times a day. Your Apple Watch, you unlock once when you put it on, and if you're using it like most people do, never again. It stays unlocked as long as it's attached to your wrist. What do we know about Face ID technology? It makes the product much more expensive. Look at the iPhone XR. Look at the new iPad Pros. They all got more expensive than phones and iPads that were somewhat comparable because Face ID technology is not cheap. So if you're okay with the Apple Watch getting $300 more expensive just because you want to save that 5 seconds at the beginning of the day, look, you can already unlock your Apple Watch with your iPhone. Just put it on your wrist and then unlock your phone via Face ID, and boom, the Apple Watch will automatically unlock because it knows it's on a wrist and its owner has been verified via the iPhone's biometrics. So putting biometrics on the watch is just going to be expensive, meaningless. It would probably mean the display has to be smaller, or you have to put up with a notch on your watch. How ugly and terrible would that be? Let's avoid that if all possible, okay? And my goodness, some people were getting so excited about this patent patent filing that they were going as far to say that, oh, this is going to be on the Series 5. Guys, the Apple Watch Series 5 is coming out, if it is coming out, within the next 90 days, actually sooner. Drops in September if it falls in line with the previous release cycle. They're not going to be passing patents in R&D for a product coming out in less than 90 days. If there is a next generation Apple Watch coming out, it's already in production as we speak. I think there's almost a better chance that there's no Apple Watch coming out this year and Apple just decides, you know, the Series 4, we're good with that. We're just gonna maybe lower the price a little bit and just keep selling that because there's really nothing we can add to the Series 5 to make it a worthwhile upgrade. That I find much more likely that they would be passing patent filings 2 to 3 months before the product actually ships, and they haven't even started mass production yet, but they're still going to announce it in September somehow. Oh my god, it makes no sense to me. Anyways, if there's for some reason some argument I'm missing out there as to why the Apple Watch needs a camera, despite taking up too much space in the watch, draining the battery incredibly quickly, being a low quality video or photo camera, and also being a very unflattering angle no matter what way you hold your arm, if there's some possible counter argument you can think of, please hit me up on Twitter or join our Discord. This is your Apple Sheep here. I will see you in the next one.